In this lesson, we'll finish our cost estimation by taking a look at the doors, the windows, and even the roof in our design. So let's get to work. Okay, so now that we have most of our structure in place, let's jump to some of the exterior stuff going on with our building. We're going to focus on windows, doors, and the roof. Now the windows and doors, creating those schedules is pretty much the same process, and it's really easy. There's only two columns we're going to insert. That's the type and the cost. So we can go ahead and jump into those and knock those out before we figure out how to tackle this roof. So I'm going to go to View, and we'll start with our windows. So we'll go Schedules, and we're going to go ahead and create a window schedule. I'll click on Windows, OK. And again, the only thing I'm really worried about is the family and type, and I'm going to add that, and the cost. So what we're going to do is click OK here. Now that we have our fields in place, I can simply type in the cost, and then we'll total this up. And I'm only worried about what's going on that bottom line, since we're simply pricing each individual window. So we have two different types of windows here. So we have a rectangular window. It's a pretty standard window. I'm going to assume that price is, pretty standard price. And we have some round windows that seem like they'd probably cost a little bit more, a little more customized, a little more carpentry involved to get these in place. So I'm going to assume that price is going to be about $350. So I'll hit Enter, and we now have all our windows in place here. So what we could do next is create the grand totals for the bottom, for our bottom line here. So I'm going to go back to my sorting and grouping, click the grand totals. Again, we definitely want to itemize everything because we want to know exactly what we have, the dimensions, all the details. So later on we could take inventory when we're out in the field after we order these materials. So I'll click OK here, and at the bottom you should see a grand total. Yep, this is perfect. So it totaled up everything on my first column, which is the type. So I know I have 36 windows. Now let's make it total up what's going on my cost. So I'll click on Cost, Calculate Totals, OK, and there we go. And I really don't need to do any formatting in my cells here. I see I already have 2 decimal places, but we do need to go ahead and extend out this cell just a bit so we can see exactly what's going on with the details of our window. So that looks good. So let's go ahead and format everything in our window real quick, like we've been doing. We'll go back to, we'll click on a cell, we'll modify. We're going to do the shading first. We'll go with the orange. We're going to bold this font. And we'll finish off our bottom cell here by doing the similar. We'll change that, but we'll change that to a yellow, and we'll bold that font as well. Perfect. So now we can jump on to our doors. And again, we're going to use the same technique. All we're worried about is the family and type and the cost. So we'll go back to View, Schedules, Quantities, Doors. And now I'm just worried about my family and type and the cost. Oops, looks like I got one extra on there. You can always click on the one you have over there and remove it, and it will get it out your way there. So we'll get that cost over there. Perfect. All right, so these are double glass doors, double doors. So I'm going to make the assumption that the cost of these doors is going to be $1,800 here. That'll give me the cost once I tally these up. Again, we'll go to sorting and grouping like we've been doing here, grand totals, and we're definitely going to itemize. And let's total up our cost. And we're going to calculate totals. Okay, perfect. Now let's format that look before we tackle this roof. I know we're going to have a special formula for the roof. So again, we'll go Modify, Shading, Orange. Perfect. And we'll do yellow for this area here. All right. So now that we're ready for the roof, I'm going to go ahead and pull that schedule up here. We'll go to View, Schedule. We've got to think about how can we calculate the cost of this roof. A lot of times roofers will use what they call squares. And what that is just area divided by 100. And when you do that formula, that gives you 1 square. So that's what we're going to need to include in our parameters when we start setting up our formulas. And then once you have your square set for your roof, then you know the contractor charges a certain amount per square. So we'll see how this works exactly. So again, we'll go down to our window here, and we'll go to Roofs. Click OK. And remember the formula I mentioned. It's going to be area divided by 100. So we're going to go area. We know we're going to need that, and we know we're going to need cost. So those are going to be the two elements we need. But we're going to create a calculated value. And this one will be square. And this is me telling Revit, hey, this is what a square is. So we're going to go in here and select from what's going on in our scheduled fields again. So I know that a square is the area. And we're going to divide that by 100. And we'll click OK, and it accepts the formula. So far, so good. So we're not done there. Now that we have that, we need to multiply the square times the cost, and that'll give us a rough estimate for what the cost of the roof is going to be. So calculated value, we'll say cost of roof system. And I'll go to formulas, and remember, that's going to be square, the formula we just created, and we're going to multiply that times the cost. Perfect. I'm going to click OK, and we're going to have our fields show up here. So now it's just a matter of plugging and chugging and going on from there. So I'm going to assume that the cost for my roof is going to be about $500 per square. So once I plug that in, Revit's going to automatically calculate roughly what that roof's going to cost me. And I'm going to go ahead and format these really quick. I really don't need these decimals again, so let's do that real fast. So we go to Formula, and I just need to change the field format. Again, we're going to be dealing with currency, so you know we need 2 decimals and a $sign. And let's see, we can let's go ahead and format that square. We don't need 6 decimal places. I think we could stop at 2 decimal places on the units for the square. So we'll go there, we'll change its field format as well, getting rid of the defaults. And this is going to be a fixed units, and we'll go 2 decimal places. Perfect. So now if we wanted to, we can come in here and apply the color scheme that we've been working with. But I think we've got the point on how that works. So in the next lesson, we're going to jump into what exactly we can do with all this information we've just generated from using these schedules.